Ever get that, like, I don't know, kind of creepy feeling about, your neighbors, the people right next door or across the street? You see them around, maybe wave, but do you really know who they are?
It's funny, right? We go about our lives, assuming a certain normalcy, especially in our own neighborhoods. But there's always that potential, that little seed of doubt. What if the person living just a wall away is not who we think they are?
Exactly. And that's what we're going to be diving into today. You, our awesome listeners, sent us some truly wild stories. This YouTube transcript, 3 scary true neighbor horror stories narrated by Mr. Nightmare. And let me tell you, these stories are going to stay with you.
What's fascinating is how these stories tap into that very real, very primal fear of the unknown. But it's not like monsters in the dark, it's the fear of something unsettling happening right in our seemingly safe everyday spaces. Our homes, our streets, with the people we think we know.
Absolutely. And this transcript, it's like it throws us right into 3 totally different scenarios, each with its own brand of neighborly unease. We've got a college student in a co-op with a seriously strange resident. Then we'll hear about a seemingly picture-perfect neighbor across the street whose life takes a dark, and I mean dark turn. And then buckle up, because the last story, it's about a super reclusive next-door neighbor. And let's just say, things get weird. Really weird.
I think what's going to be interesting is seeing how each story, despite their differences, plays on our expectations of neighborly behavior. What we assume is normal and how quickly those assumptions can unravel.
Okay, so first up, Garrett's story. He's a sophomore in college living in this off-campus co-op. Now, this isn't your typical dorm situation. It's 3 separate houses, but they all share a communal kitchen. Talk about a recipe for interesting neighbor dynamics, right?
Definitely a setup that blurs those personal boundaries. And in shared spaces like that, you're bound to have encounters, some more welcome than others.
Right. So it's in this shared kitchen that Garrett first meets this, well, let's call her an odd neighbor. She's an older woman, late 50s, maybe even older, Garrett says. Graying hair, walks with the limp, and just this blank expression on her face. Very quiet, keeps to herself. At first, Garrett just figures, she's probably got some connection to the university.
It makes sense, right? Especially in a college town, you're constantly surrounded by a diverse mix of people.
Totally. But here's where things start getting, well, creepy. Garrett would see her just standing in the kitchen, not cooking, not talking, just standing there while everyone else is busy, making dinner, chatting. And he gets this really strong feeling. He even admits it might sound crazy that she's watching him, specifically him. And the weirdest part, no one else even seems to notice her.
I wonder if that's a case of, like, a collective adaptation. The other residents, they've probably been there longer, right? Maybe they've already figured out a way to deal with her, to just, I don't know, ignore her presence as a coping mechanism. And Garrett, as the newcomer, he's the one who's picking up on this odd vibe.
Yeah, maybe, but it gets worse. Late one night, Garrett's in his room, looks out the window, and there she is, standing in the middle of the street, just staring up at his window. It's cold, it's late, definitely not normal behavior. He waves, just to be polite, and that's when things go from weird to totally bizarre. She doesn't wave back. She starts jumping up and down, almost like she's excited, and then runs towards another one of the houses.
Oh, wow. Talk about unsettling. It's one thing to feel like you're being watched, but then to have that observation seemingly confirmed, and in such a strange way, that would really throw you off.
Right. Garrett immediately regrets waving, realizing he just confirmed which room is his. He starts asking his housemates about her, and one of them just tells him, "Ignore her, man," like everyone else does. Finally, an older resident kind of fills him in a little. Says she's, quote, kooky, supposedly has some tie to the university, but no one really knows what, and the property manager, he knows about her. But that doesn't make Garrett feel any better.
I can see why. It's almost like by calling her kooky, they're dismissing her behavior without actually addressing it. And the property manager knows thing, it's like passing the buck.
Totally. But things escalate even further. One night, Garrett's leaving his room, and there she is again, standing right outside his door in the hallway. Doesn't say a word, just stares at him for a second and then walks away. I mean, can you imagine?
That's just
I
so
wish for
creepy.
that.
It's a clear violation of personal space, even in a shared living situation like that. To have someone standing right outside your bedroom door late at night, it's incredibly unsettling.
Totally. And then shortly after that, Garrett realizes his room key is missing. Now, Garrett's the type of guy who always locks his door, so this freaks him out even more. It's like another layer of feeling unsafe in his own space.
Right, and you have to remember, at this point, he's already on edge because of her previous behavior. So a missing key, that's definitely going to send his anxiety through the roof.
And then things take a truly terrifying turn. A few nights later, Garrett wakes up to this weird bumping sound coming from inside his closet. He gets up, slowly opens the door, and there she is, inside his closet. She's got one of his ties wrapped around her neck, and she's holding a kitchen knife.
Oh my God. That is straight out of a nightmare. Your own closet that's supposed to be a safe space, and then to find someone hiding in there with a weapon. I can't even imagine the terror.
I know, it's truly chilling. They struggle, and thankfully, Garrett manages to get the knife away from her and pin her down. His housemates hear the commotion and come running. They call the cops. And through all of this, the woman doesn't say a single word. And then the cops find Garrett's missing key on her.
That's the detail that really seals it. It wasn't just a random act. She went into his room intentionally. It was premeditated, which makes it all the more frightening.
Right. So a few weeks later, the whole story comes out. Turns out she was the property manager's sister. He'd been letting her live in an empty room in the co-op under the radar. She had some serious mental health issues, but instead of getting her proper care, he just stuck her in the co-op with a bunch of college students. Needless to say, the property manager gets arrested for negligence, among a lot of other charges.
Wow, talk about a breach of trust. The property manager's actions put all the residents in danger. It really highlights the responsibility landlords have to ensure their tenants' safety.
Yeah, absolutely. Garrett, he was left feeling a mix of pity for the woman, knowing she was clearly struggling, but also, he almost died. He couldn't understand why she seemed fixated on him, and he knows this whole experience, it's going to stay with him.
I can only imagine. It's a reminder that mental health issues can manifest in ways that are unpredictable and sometimes terrifying.
Okay, let's take a deep breath and shift gears completely. We're leaving the co-op behind and heading into what seems like a much calmer setting. A retired couple, our narrator and her husband Benjamin, have been living in their home for 20 years. They get a new neighbor. Quinn moves in across the street. Mid-20s, drives a fancy BMW, wears flashy clothes. The first impression is actually pretty good. Seems nice, friendly. He and Benjamin even bond over sports and their college days. Quinn mentions he works in the entertainment industry and seems to be doing quite well for himself.
It's like, on the surface, everything seems perfectly normal. Just a new neighbor settling in, making friendly connections.
Exactly. There's the usual, waving from the porch, being neighborly. And then this young blonde woman starts showing up at Quinn's place, drives a white convertible, has her own key to his house, and even visits when he's not home. The narrator mentions her clothes being, how does she put it, scandalous. At first, she just assumes, okay, girlfriend. But the fact that she has a key, she's there when he's not. Did that not raise any red flags for you?
Honestly, it's one of those things that could be totally innocent or maybe a little, too trusting. Like, giving someone that much access to your home, even when you're not there, it just seems a bit unusual, especially if it's a relatively new relationship.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. And then the narrator actually sees Quinn and the woman together, so it seems like, okay, they're definitely a couple. But then she overhears them having this huge argument, like screaming at each other, gesturing wildly. The woman storms off in her car, furious. To have that kind of blow up in public, it makes you wonder what's really going on behind closed doors.
Right. It kind of shatters that initial impression of a happy couple, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It suggests there's some deeper issues, some real tension simmering beneath the surface.
Totally. But here's the really unsettling part. The woman keeps coming back to Quinn's house, even when he's not there. The narrator's getting increasingly worried, but Benjamin just brushes it off, tells her she's being nosy. But you have to admit, it's pretty suspicious, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It makes you wonder, what's her motive for being there when Quinn's not home? Is it just a matter of not accepting the breakup? Or is there something more possessive, maybe even controlling going on?
And then comes the night when, as the narrator puts it, everything went sideways. Sirens blaring, police cars, an ambulance all showing up at Quinn's house. They see the woman being let out in handcuffs, just this blank look on her face. Then they bring Quinn out on a stretcher, covered in blood. Imagine living on that street, seeing that unfold.
It's like your whole sense of safety, that feeling of normalcy you have in your neighborhood, it just gets completely shattered. Suddenly, you're confronted with the very real possibility of violence happening right on your doorstep.
Exactly. A week later, Quinn tells the narrator what happened. The woman, her name was Ellie, she'd stolen his spare key, made a copy, and had started demanding all sorts of expensive things, getting furious when he wouldn't buy them for her. But here's where it gets really messed up. She'd been tracking him, using his phone without him knowing, and had even hidden cameras in his room, replacing the batteries when she was there alone. The argument the narrator overheard. That was Quinn trying to break up with her. Ellie came back later with a knife, and that's how Quinn ended up getting hurt.
That's just chilling. The level of manipulation and invasion of privacy, it's terrifying. It shows how easily technology can be used for such harmful purposes. And the fact that he was seriously injured, it just highlights how dangerous this kind of obsessive behavior can be.
Right. Understandably, Quinn was freaked out. He moved out soon after, didn't feel safe knowing Ellie and her friends knew where he lived. The narrator was left feeling worried for him and also, I think, a little shaken herself. It's a reminder that you can live right across the street from someone and have absolutely no clue what's truly going on in their lives.
It really makes you question how well we can ever know our neighbors, doesn't it? We often base our sense of security on these assumptions of normalcy, and then something like this happens, and it just shows how easily those assumptions can be shattered.
Absolutely. Okay, on to our final story. This one takes us to a new neighborhood. The narrator's just moved in, and it seems perfect. Low crime, quiet, lots of families, houses aren't crammed together. Peaceful suburbia, right? But then there's the house next door. It's unusually close to hers, and it's massive. She assumes, okay, must be a big family living there.
Makes sense. We tend to project our own ideas about family and lifestyle onto our neighbors, especially based on the kind of house they live in.
Right. So one day, she finally meets the neighbor, Damon. Turns out he's younger than she expected, late 20s maybe, sporting a mullet. And their first interaction, it's surprisingly friendly. He seems genuinely happy to meet someone his age, mentions that he lives alone, which is surprising given the size of the house, and even invites her over for a drink. But then he suddenly changes his tune, says he's busy working, something vague about finance, and gives her his number instead.
That's interesting. It's like he was super enthusiastic at first and then kind of backtracked. It just seems a bit off, doesn't it? And the fact that he lives alone in such a big house, that adds to the intrigue.
Yeah, it's a little strange. The narrator tries to be friendly, texts him a few times, but he always says he's busy. She eventually gives up. And then she starts noticing some really odd things. She never sees any visitors, no parties, no girlfriends coming over, not even takeout deliveries. But his car's always there. She has a good view of his property from her third-floor office, and it's like he's living in total isolation.
That's definitely unusual, especially in a neighborhood that's described as being family-oriented and sociable. It would definitely make you curious and maybe even a little concerned.
For sure. And then comes party night. It's 2 in the morning on a Wednesday. And the narrator wakes up to this blaring music coming from next door. She looks out and sees at least 7 cars parked in Damon's driveway. She figures, okay, maybe I should go ask him to turn it down, but no one answers when she knocks. She decides against texting him at that hour.
I can only imagine how jarring that would be. It's the middle of the night, and suddenly you've got this loud party happening right next door when it's normally quiet. It would definitely make you wonder what's going on.
Right, but then the next morning, things get even weirder. Damon's front door is unlocked, and when she peeks inside, there's a pile of shoes in the foyer, like at least 10 pairs. But the house is completely empty. And here's the kicker. She can still faintly hear party sounds. Laughter, yelling, glasses clinking. She realizes it's a recording. It's like he staged a fake party.
Wait, what? That's so bizarre. Why go to all that trouble to make it seem like there's a party happening if no one's actually there?
I know, it's crazy, right? And then she gets this gut feeling, She finds the basement door slightly open and decides to check it out. It's dark down there. There's a faint light coming from another door, and she hears this mechanical grinding sound. She peeks through a crack in the door and sees 3 older guys wearing heavy-duty work clothes, goggles, thick gloves, work boots. They're looking intently at something she can't see. And there's this overwhelming smell of bleach, like a really strong cleaning solution.
Okay, that's definitely not a good sign. The protective gear, the strange noises, the bleach. It all points to something shady, maybe even dangerous going on.
Exactly. As she's backing away, trying not to be seen, the light from behind the door starts to fade, like someone's closing it. She freaks out, runs upstairs out of the house, jumps her own fence, locks her back door, and hides in her office, watching Damon's house from the dark.
I would have done the same thing. That moment when you realize you might have been seen, it's pure adrenaline. You just want to get as far away from the situation as possible.
Totally. And then, more weirdness. 8 older guys, all dressed similar to the ones she saw in the basement, come out of Damon's house. They're scanning the yard like they're searching for something, and then they have this quick argument among themselves before going back inside. Shortly after, the music stops. And what's even stranger is that none of the other neighbors seem to have reacted to the noise or any of this weird activity. And don't forget about those shoes in the foyer. What was up with all the extra pairs?
It's like a scene from a movie, but with this unsettlingly real-life quality. And the fact that none of the other neighbors seemed to notice, or at least didn't react, is just plain strange.
It is. It makes you wonder if everyone else is in on something, or if they're just choosing to ignore it. Either way, it's super creepy. The next morning, all the cars, including Damon's, are gone. The narrator tries to casually ask some other neighbors if they heard the party, but no one seems to know what she's talking about. She's left feeling really uneasy, like she stumbled onto something huge, some kind of conspiracy.
That feeling of being the only one who knows something's wrong, it can be so isolating. You start to doubt your own perceptions, and it just adds to the overall creepiness of the situation.
It really does. And to top it all off, months go by, and Damon never comes back. His house is starting to look run down, packages are piling up on the porch. The narrator's left with a ton of unanswered questions and this lingering feeling of unease. She's even wondering what she would do if Damon ever did return.
It's like that unsettling feeling just hangs in the air, doesn't it? With no resolution, no explanation, you're left to fill in the blanks with your own imagination, and those possibilities can be pretty disturbing.
So there you have it. 3 very different, yet equally creepy stories about neighbors, all pulled from the source material you, our amazing listeners, sent us.
It really makes you think about the people living around us, doesn't it? Those assumptions we make about our neighbors, how easily those can be shattered. It's a reminder that we often only see the surface, and there's a whole lot more going on beneath that we might never know about.
Right. And the common threads here, they're pretty unsettling. We see how hidden the intentions of our neighbors can be, the violation of personal space, both physically and emotionally, and the feeling that there are secrets lurking just next door.
And it all plays on that basic human need for security, for our homes and neighborhoods to be safe and predictable. When that's disrupted, even in subtle ways, it can be incredibly unnerving.
Absolutely. So after hearing these stories, take a look around your own neighborhood. How well do you really know the people living around you, and how much of your sense of security is based on assumptions that might not be entirely accurate?
Maybe it's a good reminder to be a little more observant, to pay attention to those little details, those things that might seem off. Not to be paranoid, but just to be aware that things aren't always as they seem.
Food for thought, for sure. Until next time, keep those eyes peeled, and maybe, just maybe, those seemingly ordinary moments in your neighborhood will take on a whole new meaning.